we're very grateful for. I must also ask you about what's going on in Ukraine briefly. Now, just to remind our audience, we can see in red there areas that the Russians had taken control of. But then look in the last recent days, that purple area, we can see the Ukraine's forces pushing back, taking back territory. What's really going on? Can you explain to us what's happened?
I think in many ways we're seeing more of the same. We, at the very outset, we said that this was a strategic error by President Putin. And strategic errors lead to strategic consequences. And in this instance, it's strategic failure. Putin is failing on all of his military strategic objectives. He wanted to subjugate Ukraine. That's not going to happen. He wanted to take control of the capital. We saw that that was defeated earlier on. We saw that he wanted to weaken NATO. NATO is now much stronger, and we have Finland and Sweden joining. He wanted to break the international resolve. Well, actually, that's strengthened over this period, and he's under pressure. His problems are mounting. He's always had a problem in terms of crewing the equipment that he's got. He hasn't got sufficient manpower. His forces are thin on the ground. And we're also seeing a magnificent Ukrainian armed forces who've been courageous, they're fighting for their country, and they've embraced the international support that all of us are providing, and that's now having an effect on the ground. But it's more of the same. At a strategic level, this is a failure for Putin, and Ukraine is fighting to maintain their integrity and to gain more of their country back.
And do you think this is a turning point that sets Ukraine on a path to a victory and Russia losing and Putin potentially losing his power?
I think we've got to be very cautious. I think it's significant in terms of what's happening on the ground. It's really significant for Ukrainian morale. It's significant for the impact it has on Russian forces. But people need to be cautious. The likely result with all of this is that it's going to grind on for a long time. And that's why there's a wishfulness when people jump to conclusions that either President Putin is weak and his power base might be undermined, or that Ukraine has gained some ground, and it's been a magnificent action in the northeast, but it doesn't automatically lead on to easy victories elsewhere. You're seeing that in the south with the fight over Kherson.
Do these losses perhaps though make it more likely that Vladimir Putin might do something almost unthinkable, that he might turn to using tactical nuclear weapons?
I think we've got to be very balanced about talk of escalation. We monitor it very carefully. We don't see anything at this stage that alarms us. And we have to understand that should Putin escalate, that creates problems for him as well. So I would offer caution and avoid jumping to conclusions, or that something rash is going to happen.
So we must take great care then with that, you suggest. When it comes just on a final note, we are seeing in the city of Izium, one of the cities the Ukrainians have taken back, what looks like terrible evidence of war crimes. Can you tell us what you know about what's happened there? And is this evidence of war crimes in your view?
So the formal declaration of war crimes needs to come about from a more thorough investigation. But it's a pattern of behaviour. This was an illegal invasion of Ukraine at the outset. It's illegal to attack civilians. The dam that was attacked a few days ago in Korea, in the hometown of Zelensky, of where President Zelensky comes from, that's an illegal act. The attacks on the electricity generation, those are illegal acts. What we saw in Bucha are illegal acts. So this is